Hello everyone, Monty Gaming here, and let's talk marriages. I'm sure the definition of love and marriage in medieval time was a bit different than what we know today, but in CK3, marriage is simply a tool for a ruler to accomplish a certain goal. Marriages can be arranged to strengthen your council, educate your heirs, adopt a specific religion or culture, maintain alliances, and in some cases, directly inheriting land. This video will cover my top 8 marriage tips that may improve how you play your game. My first tip, don't neglect your wife's passion. When considering a partner, think about a wife with a complementary skill set that'll support where your character is weak. Need additional domain? Setting your wife's focus to stewardship may allow you one more holding. Remember, you can always micromanage this to your heart's content. Additional examples include setting her to intrigue when scheming and setting to diplomacy when interacting with others. If you've seen my video on prestige, you'll see that I love using high diplomacy wives as a tribal ruler due to the additional % prestige gain per month from the additional diplomacy points. Now, I'm definitely guilty of neglecting heir education, but this is something that should not be overlooked. When children reach adulthood, they receive an education trait, such as flamboyant, schemer, etc., consistent with their focus. As a quick side tip, remember to always set their education focus using this button in the corner when selecting said child. Each education trait has 4 tiers, and the chance the child receives the higher tier is based on their guardian's relevant skills plus half their learning skill, as well as any congenital traits the educator or the child has. So if your child's education focus is leaning towards intrigue, but your current spouse is pretty weak in that department, remember, you've always got knights and counselors that are in the market for love, so marry them off accordingly. This leads to my next tip. Consider the culture and religion of an educator as well when obtaining one for the realm. You may request that said guardian converts the child to a particular culture or religion. This can be useful if you're constantly fighting discontent due to being of the wrong culture, and having your heir converted before he takes over will ease those headaches when they're in charge. You may also be interested in a different religion for your heir so that you can gain access to specific holy war casus belli. Just note, you may have trouble getting someone with a different faith to marry into your realm, but don't forget, you may be able to gather a hook or use your dread to influence this situation. If you're unsure how dread works, be sure to check out my mechanics guide on this channel as I break it down pretty thoroughly. This next one may seem obvious, but yep, marrying your family off to as high of rank as possible will start gathering you renown. My tip though is to periodically check your Dynasty overview to ensure that everyone has a spouse. The AI sometimes takes a lackadaisical approach to getting married, so you might find a bunch of distant relatives and cousins that are just twiddling their thumbs somewhere in the world. So don't miss out on potential renown for your Dynasty and get them married ASAP. At times, you may find you have random female courtiers in your court. Poke around in the character finder for unmarried, skilled individuals that you can marry into your realm to these women to serve on your council. Remember to select matrilineal to ensure that they arrive at your court. This tip can also be used to find commanders, knights, and possibly claimants. Naturally, the same can be done for the unmarried men in your court. Depending on your realm laws, you may be able to have that unmarried knight or counselor get a woman with high intrigue for a good spy master, or high learning for a guaranteed skilled court physician. Okay, yes, this isn't a secret to anyone, but I couldn't give a list of top tips and ignore one of the most powerful mechanics in the game. Obviously, you're going to want to marry for powerful alliances. This one is pretty straightforward. Alliances are automatically created when 2 rulers are married. They are also created when the close family members of 2 rulers are married or betrothed to each other. Again, if you're confused as to whether or not an alliance will result from a particular marriage, the marriage proposal window should show this information pretty clearly. Generally, rulers might be more willing to marry their heirs that are way down the list in terms of succession. But with some luck and of course some scheming, you may be able to tilt the succession in your favor by killing off those ahead of said character. Bonus points if you could get a hook and force a matrilineal marriage to essentially pass the titles into your dynasty. This is pretty powerful if you like playing intrigue-based games, as it is a very viable means of expanding, potentially very rapidly. Patch 1.1 had made this much more difficult, but with a little effort via hooks and friends on the inside, you can still manage to pull this off in some cases. Partition succession always threatens the fracturing of your realm. Luckily, some planning can help mitigate this possibility. Landing older characters after marrying them to elderly spouses will ensure that they do not create kids, and you, or your heir, will inherit these titles back when they ultimately pass with no successors. You can also arrange the marriage of one of your courtiers to someone with 0 intrigue, and then grant them some extra titles whilst immediately imprisoning them. That way, you or your heir can revoke those titles back when it's convenient, and on your succession, they may not be passed to undesired heirs. Due to the importance of succession and its implications on the stability of your realm management has to be my #1 tip here. Anyway, I hope at least one of these tips was useful or has you rethinking your approach to playing the game, and that's really the beauty of CK3. There are so many solutions to any given scenario, and if you ask 2 different players, they'll both come up with a different strategy. If you've liked what you've seen here, feel free to drop a like or comment below. Let me know of any other pro marriage tips you might have, and don't forget to poke around the channel a bit. I have a few different guides floating around, and I hope to see you guys in the next one, so take care.